lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Hello, race fans, and welcome live to the World Center of Racing. We are here at the Daytona International Speedway for the penultimate round of the Western States Racing League Tuesday night season. This time it's going to be 80 laps under the high banks, under the lights, as we move closer into that championship battle. I'm Liam Ervik, joined up in the booth by Mac Nelson. Mac, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, and over here in Kentucky, it was a big rain, a monsoon, and so just every day, every second of the day, getting through work, I just thought the WSRL is tonight. We're at Daytona. It's the pinnacle of oval racing.
And certainly no rain to get in our way here today. Just finishing up with qualifying here as some of these drivers are still out on the track, just completing their laps, but now it's time for these guys to grid up, and we'll go ahead and show you where everybody is starting here. On the pole, we see Chad Simpson, followed by Carl Burke to his outside, then Butch Davis, Lyle Swearingen, Bob Beltrami, Wayne Hutchison, Chris Simard, Neil Messer, Brian Barnes, Keith Kellman. Gonna round out your top 10. After that, we see William Fletcher, Ryan Steele, Dan Brasington, Steve Baird, Julian Ritchie, Dustin Burns, Cody Matthews, Justin T. Wilkinson, Wayne Fleet, Rounding out your top 20 is going to be Michael Bourne.
Yes, sir. And showing some love to the back half of the grid here, we had in P21, I believe that was Barry Phil and Alan Bergen in that row. P23 is going to be Scott Kukas and Dave Rudd to his outside. P25 is going to be Justin Michael starting on his outside. Teammate Andrew Schulte, also championship leader. As was said, Jeff Schmeier is behind Justin Michael over there on the left side. He was in the battle for the championship last season, coming down to the last race. And in P28, storylines everywhere here. Michael Milfeld Jr., who was actually P2 in this season's championship standings. P29 is going to be Charlie Widener. His outside is going to be Dennis Fuson. P31 is going to be Daryl Scott. David Weaver in P32. James Campbell in P33. And Earl Weaver in 34th.
Absolutely stacked field for you here today at the high banks of Daytona. 80 laps to get it done, and we're going to see just who's going to be able to come out on top. Of course, 2 races left in the season, including this one. We come back again next week, I believe, at Phoenix to decide a champion. It's going to be interesting, though, because we've got drop weeks to account for. Andrew Schulte right now has, I believe, a 62-point gap on second place Michael Milfeld Jr. But with those drop weeks, things are bound to change.
Yeah, Liam, you're exactly right. Your 16 best races are the ones that are going to be counted here in this season, season 49. And last season, we saw it with that 3-man battle between Jeff Hollingsworth, Jeff Schmeier, and Ryan Steele. Ryan Steele ended up being the victor, and it did come down to the drop weeks being played into the point standings. We didn't actually know who won the championship after the race had finished. It took, a couple of hours for everything to get kind of marked down and official. So Andrew Schulte is never safe until he's safe.
Got Schulte in that 81 machine, starting in the towards the back of the pack in 26th position. It'll be a tough task for him to get up to the front, try to keep that car clean. But he has 14 top 5s on the season, hoping to make it a 15th here today. That in itself is a very commanding stat. I'll tell you what, drop weights might not be able to take away from that type of performance.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And Andrew Schulte is Mr. Consistency here. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. He always shows up. He always shows up. And, he is more than likely going to be crowned for that consistency, and there's a good chance he walks out of here season 49 champion next week at Phoenix.
It's definitely a possibility as that pace car makes the hard left turn once again, this time at the high banks of Daytona. The field is in the hands of Chad Simpson. He puts the gas down. We are racing in Daytona International Speedway, and already that 42 out to about a 2-3 car length lead.
Yeah, but everybody knows, Liam, at Daytona, the leads do not matter. It is all about draft. It is all about survival at the front of the line.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. These guys are going to be pounding each other for 80 laps, 200 miles. The leads don't matter because the draft is going to play such a huge factor. As you can see already, a couple of guys starting to fan out, so move up to the top or single file throughout the second half of the field. But up front, it's Chad Simpson and Butch Davis.
Yeah, Butch Davis, someone who is very, very talented at these super speedways. He can get it done at every single track that is on the calendar. However, with him being such a good defensive driver and not allowing any overtake to be easy, that comes into play at super speedways more than it does at the other tracks.
It certainly does. If you're a good blocker up front, you might find yourself in a good spot at the end of the race trying to play these lines. But it's tough, and just as we say that, Chad Simpson, Bob Beltrami both decide to back out of the front of this pack. They're going to move on towards the back.
Yeah, and more than likely, that is going to be a good call because bad things can happen at the front of the pack at Daytona.
Yeah, they definitely can, but that's going to allow Lyle Swearingen to get up front, take about half the car length lead over Carl Burke, who leads that inside lane. The inside seems to be a little bit better organized. Just as I say that, the outside lane now has 5 cars to their 4.
And I'm surprised to see the top line not get as much support going back into, the ranks of, the mid-pack and the back of the grid. Usually that is where you see the biggest movers, in the mid-pack, in the back. You'll see them kind of conveyor belt up and kind of put themselves in a position after position to get overtake after overtake, and soon enough they start climbing the grid, and usually that happens on that outside line because the people on the inside, they know they're good. They just chill.
To your point, here's somebody who's doing just that, trying to carve up through the middle of the field. That is 32 of Jeff Schmeier. Let's ride on the nose here of that machine. Get a good angle of what he's got going on now. It looks like he's got the K&N machine up to his outside. That's Barry Phil in the 99 trying to move up to that next pack. About 10 car lengths separate the 6 car and the 99 car from the car in front. That's Michael Bourne. These guys have a nice run as they catch up to the pack. Here comes Barry Phil up on the top side.
Yeah, Barry Phil, he seems to be in his comfort zone when he is at these super speedways. You notice that a lot in oval racing. A lot of these drivers, they have no problem in, with being close to each other, shoulder to shoulder, bumper to bumper in these super speedways because draft is so important, and you see a lot of drivers comfortable with that. And you would think it would be the other way around. You would think they like the tracks where you get to space out and kind of do your own thing, but a lot of drivers love racing at these super speedways.
Just to add to your point on how important this draft is, we saw Chad Simpson and Bob Beltrami jump out of the pack, running 1st and 5th respectively. They are now already almost a quarter of a lap down. They've gotten back together. You can see that they're drafting together. That's going to give them a little bit of an advantage. But man, they're already losing a ton of time. They're going to have to be hoping for a caution to come out early.
Yeah, and I like the play. I like the plan of getting out from that danger zone, so to say, so early in the race. But I think they could have executed it a little better. I think they probably got back on throttle a little too late. And, the rest of the pack just went flying by, and they weren't able to catch the draft of, say, Earl Weaver, Darrell Scott, or James Campbell, any of those guys that are back there. And it's really hurting them.
Yeah, and one of the things that we noticed while they were trying to get off of the pace here, they stayed on the apron through turns 3 and 4. We're seeing right now Neil Messer in the 31 jumped out of line, trying to get to the back of this pack, but he slid back up onto the racetrack in 3 and 4. That's going to allow him to stay with the rest of this pack for now, at least.
Yeah, that's good. See, that is the idea executed perfectly. Neil Messer, he wanted to get out of that mid-pack, wanted to get out of that mess, and he just let off for just a second, and then was right back on it, and he executed it flawlessly.
Phenomenal job there. Neil Messer to get to the back of the pack. He currently sits in the 29th position. Of Weaver, Scott, Campbell, Simpson, and Beltrami. Butch Davis continues to hold out of the race lead. Strong run for him so far here as he led early on, lost the lead, and is now back up front. A good buddy of mine needs to be really good at these races. His strategy is to qualify up front and just try to stay there the whole time. Do you think that's the way to go to win these types of races, Mac?
That is exactly my strategy when I go to any super speedway on the iRacing service. Because, yeah, especially league racing is a little different because these guys are highly talented. They are respectful. They are clean 99.9% of the time. There are those outliers. There are those moments that we had. I think New Hampshire last year was one of those in the WSRL. But when you go into an official race, you don't know those guys unless you're in the top split and you're racing the same guys race after race after race. You don't really know what you're getting into when you go into those official races. So I like that idea, because with the super speedway, the qualifying is painfully simple. You just strap yourself to the yellow line and you just go. So it is kind of easy, I guess you could say, to qualify up front in these super speedway races. And I agree, in that case, just stay up front.
Well, let's see how well that Danny Von Bepp strategy works out for Bush Davis. Lyle Swearingen tried to take up the top side, though. It's going to be top side going into turn number 1 with a big push from Wayne Hutchison in that 17 machine. That Toyota Camry, or rather Supra, we're in the Xfinity cars. That Toyota Supra running strong, and second car up on the outside with help from another Toyota in the 07. That's Keith Kelman.
Yeah, and Wayne Hutchison, someone who hasn't really gotten to showcase all of their racecraft this season. He has 4 top 10s on the season. He has attended almost every single race. He is currently P12 in the championship standings, but no top 5 to his name. Unfortunately, this season, that is. These stats are this season. But unfortunately for Wayne Hutchison, him, along with the likes of, Lyle Swearingen, Dennis Fousson, Brian Barnes, they unfortunately just get caught up in a lot of accidents. And they're not necessarily the cause of them, nor do I think Wayne Hutchison has ever been the cause of a WSRL caution from what I've seen. But it's the guys like that that are just so unlucky. They get collected in what seems like any, controversy or crash that we have here. And it just really ruins his chance to show what he can do at that, top 10, top 5 level.
It does, and you definitely feel for a guy who's been taken out by circumstances outside of his own doing more often than not. But this is going to be one of those places that we see that happen to a lot of people. We could see a mistake out of somebody that we don't characteristically see a mistake out of. We could see a mistake out of somebody that we maybe see a few mistakes out of per year. Definitely take out some cars here, as they are 2 by 2 for 4 rows now up front. Getting a little bit of separation from that next pack, but I don't see that lasting very long.
Yeah, and, like we said a second ago, kind of a conveyor belt system. You just move up and up and up, but then the guy behind you is also moving up and up and up. So at some point, you're going to have to move all the way back down. It's just a belt system when you race at these super speedways. And, at the end of the day, when we come down to 10 laps to go, 8 laps to go, it's really all about timing. You have to time your runs to be able to get to the front at the exact moment that checkered flag is coming out.
You gotta try to find a way to put yourself in position, and that, honestly, it starts now. If you're a driver like, let's jump back to Chad Simpson, Bob Beltrami. If you're one of these guys who are sitting here almost half a lap down at this point, they've stabilized their gap for the most part, but they're still around a third to 4/10 of a lap down running by themselves. This strategy is only going to work if they get a caution. If they get lapped on the racetrack, they could be in for a world of trouble, especially if we don't see that caution come out throughout the course of this race.
Yeah, they could certainly be in a world of hurt. Now, there is a world where they might pit early. They might try to undercut this pit cycle. I'm almost positive with 80 laps in the race. We're going to be running a one-stopper here at Daytona, unless they've done something different with the fuel load. But I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting a one-stopper here. Drivers are going to try to cut it in half. That's obviously if we go green all the way. But if you are Bob Beltrami and Chad Simpson, it might be worth it to undercut these guys, come in earlier. That way you can get back out on racetrack, full fuel, clean tires, and maybe a caution comes up and you are right there in front.
That could happen, but I anticipate we're going to see a couple more pit stops. We probably got 45 5% fuel limit in these cars.
Oh, wow. So,
In fact, maybe you could double check that on the info page. I believe that's what I saw.
info. Yes, we are running 45% fuel limit. That is correct. So in that case, I completely retract everything I just said. And I agree with you. I believe we're going to be going with probably a two-stopper then.
It might be 3. The pit window might be opening up within the next 5 to 10 laps. We'll see what these guys have in store as they start to single file out now. It seems like these guys might all be on the same page. And hey, let's maybe not push it right now. We've got a couple of pit stops coming our way. I think it'd be better if we could all make it to the end.
Yeah, and, you know, great single file runs going down here. Everybody is saving fuel except that man in front, Butch Davis. Unfortunately, he is having to bear the load of the entire Earth in air form coming to the front of his car at 190 so odd miles per hour. And he is burning a hole through that gas tank.
There's probably 4 guys on the racetrack who are full throttle right now. Somebody stuck on the outside trying to get up to the front. Somebody stuck a little bit of ways from the pack trying to catch up. Chad Simpson leading Bob Beltrami right now, and your race leader, Butch Davis. Those 4 drivers have got to be just using up more fuel with the pedal to the metal, using up all of their available resources at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And, you know, something we see at Daytona a little more than we do at other tracks is pit entry. These guys, you know, it's almost chaos when these guys go into pit at Daytona because everybody, you have a big chunk of tarmac that you can go on to get to that pit entry. And guys will take any line, they will go as fast as they can. And sometimes you see people locking up, spinning out, or maybe they enter the pit at too high of a speed. And then that sets them back a penalty. So pit entry, especially since, you know, like you said, there's going to be 2, maybe even 3 pit stops this race. Pit entry is going to be extremely important.
It is. I tell you what, Matt, as a sucker for long runs, as a sucker for green flag racing, I can't wait to see who's going to blink first. It looks like we've got some guys coming in. Majority of the field up front comes in. About 7 or 8 guys stay out. Does Butch Davis get to speed in time? Lyle Swearingen, Carl Burke, Chris Samart. Oh, into the inside wall goes the 34 of Michael Bourne. That's heavy contact. Everybody stays clear of him, and the caution's going to not come out. We're staying green. Half of the field comes into pit. Half of them stay out.
The number 16 car just backed up. That was David Weaver. He just reversed 3 pit boxes. That might be a disqualification. He just reversed through 3 pit stalls, but no, it looks like he is good to go. That was absolute chaos.
Yeah, he's been given the opportunity to gas to back up. Now Cody Matthews leads by a hefty margin, and we've got more guys coming in. Matthews comes in. Barnes stays out. Hutchinson is in. Keith Kelman is in. These guys all into pit before lap 20.
Ooh, almost contact between Phil and Barnes there.
Barnes, of course, we're going to put these guys a lap down.
And oh, that's the 99 of Phil. Brian Barnes and Barry Phil at it again.
Yeah, Phil got turned towards the outside wall. You know he's not going to be super happy about that. Both drivers able to continue on okay. Just keep in mind, that 4 car is still yet to come in. Here he comes right now. 87 dives it in. That's Justin Michael. Is he going to get locked up in time? No, he gets into the grass. Likely going to have a speeding penalty and cuts in front of the 4.
Oh, no. It's actual chaos here in Florida. Everybody makes the memes. Florida man blank this. Florida man does that, but here in Florida, we just had Justin Michael cut off Brian Barnes for an unknown reason.
Well, you gotta think he was trying to get into his pit box. That was before where the 4 cars was, but just nothing doing there. And now we've got out on the racetrack in the effective race lead is going. Oh, we've got a car sideways. That's the 95 of Charlie Widener. Got bumped coming up off of the pit lane, and the field has spread out massively as Lyle Swearingen retakes the race lead over Chris Samard and Justin Wilkinson.
And what we just saw was pandemonium. That was a clean race, probably the cleanest first 19 or 20 laps I've seen in a Daytona race in a long time. And as soon as the pit stops needed to be made, all chaos just broke loose.
It certainly seemed that way. There was a lot of guys getting in there hot. A little bit of contact made throughout the course of the pit lane. Some coming up off. That is definitely one of the struggles that you're going to face here at Daytona. A track this big, this draft dependent. If you get away just a half a second to a second off of where your competitors are, you're going to lose the draft.
I agree wholeheartedly. And speaking of draft, these front 5 of Swearingen, Samard, JTW, Baird, and Brazington are absolutely cooking right now. They are in sync with this draft in the single file line.
Look back at the second pack. They've got 10 cars in with them right now. They all move up to the top side of Julian Ritchie. Must not have liked the way he was leading the line. Now Cody Matthews is going to lead this line, and we'll see if these guys can catch up to the cars in front. They already dropped down in front of the slower cars, so that's going to split this pack up just a little bit, but the 155 is able to drop down. 6 cars are all lined up here. And Brian Barnes up on the top side. 155 of Michael Milfeld Jr. jumps up to the top. And he's going to be the lone wolf stuck up on the outside.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to Michael Milfeld, you know, he has basically just got one mission, and that is to place higher than Andrew Schulte in these final 2 races. Obviously, you want to place as high as possible, and for Michael Milfeld Jr., a win might be needed here because the gap to Schulte is currently 62 points in the championship standings, so a lot on his plate here this week and next.
Well, he's lost a little bit of time to this pack up in front of him. It might be a tough ask for him to get back up there. He's got about 2 seconds between him and that pack, and I wonder if there's maybe some strategy going on to get him back with a teammate.
I think that's definitely a possibility. We could be seeing the likes of, you know, Justin Michael, who, if I'm not mistaken, is still out there racing. Yes, he is currently a lap down, but there might be a plan in place to get Justin Michael, Andrew Schulte, Michael Milfeld, and Charlie Widener all together. So that way, you know, they can do their thing and go to town.
Well, here's the thing, is that Andrew Schulte, he's up in this second pack right now. Sitting in the 9th position, up 17 spots from where he started. He's having himself a strong run as we see him move up to the top side here for Cody Matthews, or rather for Jeff Schmeier to the top side of Cody Matthews. Getting side by side for the lead of this pack is not what you want to see if you're trying to chase down the 5-car draft in front of you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Liam. And to be honest with you, I can't really get a beat on how these things are going to shake out. You know, we have seen 2 completely opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to clean and chaos in this race. As
there,
the 10 of
gets
Cody
sideways
Matthews.
down the racetrack. That's Schulte trying to get our producer to get over to Schulte as he gets away okay, but is likely going to lose this draft. Can he get back up to speed in time? It's a 10-mile-an-hour difference right now, and ooh, buddy, that's going to be a tough ask.
Commentators curse on Andrew Schulte. That is very, very unfortunate.
Back up front, Lyle Swearingen leads over Chris Samard, JTW, Stephen Baird, Dan Brasington, and just Dan Brasington, rather. Got a lapped car at the end of this. That's Justin Michael.
Wow, we have seen it all inside of 27 laps here at Daytona.
This field is getting pretty spread out. Like I said, we've got the top 5. They're 6 seconds up ahead of the next pack. These guys, 8 cars now. They're running single file. Not quite as quick as the leaders in front of them, though. And this is where you really want to start closing down that gap if you're chasing these guys down. You've got 10 seconds between 13th and 15th. Andrew Schulte is in between those guys, all by himself, falling back to the next pack. 3 distinct packs out here on the racetrack, 4 distinct packs. If we look back to Bob Beltrami and Chad Simpson, who have gotten in front of many cars. Beltrami leading Chad Simpson in this 3rd pack on the racetrack. William Fletcher, Dave Rudd, Neil Messer, Daryl Scott, Earl Weaver are all up in here as well. Dave Weaver. So far up front, it's been 68 and 77. Top 5 staying single file here once again. We're going to go ahead and step aside for a few. We'll be right back with some more incredible racing action. Back live here at Daytona. No change up front. we've still got 50 or 47 laps to go here at Daytona. A long time for things to start playing out as the second pack has been unable to catch up anymore to the lead draft. Alan, been with Alan the last couple of races. Mac, what are your thoughts so far to start this race?
You know, I think that in a time like this, I think right now these next few laps are going to be extremely important for everybody on this grid. We are getting to the point where we are just now leaving the early race stage. Everybody's got their jitters out, and now it's time to get settled in. And here in about 15 or 20 laps, I'll say with about 25 to go, by no means are people going to be shooting to the front, but that's when they are going to start getting locked in, and they are going to look for opportunities to ascend up the grid here. And then, you know, like I said earlier, hopefully their timing is right, and they are overtaking the leader just before the checkered flag.
Another thing to consider here is the fuel mileage game. We didn't see very many drivers make it to lap 20. The top 5 all came in on 18. Wayne Hutchison, Brian Barnes. They're both drivers who came in on lap 20 along with Michael Milfeld Jr. Be interesting to see if these guys can make it to 40 or later, because if they can make it past 40, I would say it's one stop from here, but if they can't make it to 40, they're going to have to do a second stop.
You know, I agree with that, but I also think that we are going to see, I'm just going to throw my hot take of the week here out into the world. I think we are going to see somebody run out of fuel this race. With the way these packs are, now granted, this is if we stay green, but with how the strategies have been, we have 5 or 6 different packs here and there racing. I believe someone is going to miscalculate, and we are going to see somebody rolling with no fuel over the checkered flag.
See if that type of situation comes our way. However, we do have some guys starting to pit already. Darrell Scott, Carl Burke, Wayne Fleet is in already. So does that open the window and make it a 2-stopper from here? Or are these guys going to stay out and try to push it? Looks like we've got pit stops. The entire top 6 is coming in. Top 5 plus a lap car. Don't lock them up, boys. Don't speed. They're in. We'll see what the second pack does. They stay out. So 2 stops from here on out.
That gives Wayne Hutchison the lead right now as, oh my goodness, we had a car coming out of the pit road, and he just straight up went onto the track for a second. That was extremely scary.
Oh, we saw that happen at Talladega 2009 with Kevin, or 2008, I believe. No, correct, it was 2008 with Kevin LePage. Obviously, that was a slightly different situation here, where we had 2 cars side by side. One of them got up out of the racetrack, whereas Kevin LePage just decided. But either way, a very scary moment on the racetrack. Glad it didn't bring out a caution. We'll keep an eye on if that brings out a penalty for the car that went up onto the racetrack. Drivers out front still staying out. 37 laps complete, and they're catching up to that 52 with Carl Bird to put him 1 lap down.
And we've got the Doggo Mobile in Jeff Schmeier. The first race that he debuted the scheme in this season, I called my shot. I said he was going to win it because of Doge on the car. And unfortunately, he came home P2. But maybe today he can get a win for that good old dog.
See that pupper right there on the screen. Let's see the Ryan Steele machine as these guys are all coming into the pits.
Big run in from Brian Barnes and Dennis Fousson. Dennis Fousson's going to lock it up just a tad bit, but a really good entry from him.
Once again, the 4-car caught in a space where somebody had to get into a pit box way before his. This time it was Jeff Schmeier. Schmeier overshot the box a little bit, had to back it up. Wayne Hutchison gets into the box just fine. Brian Barnes, Keith Kellman. Cody Matthews is going to stay out and take the race lead once again This time he's all by himself.
All by himself, indeed, in that Bucky's machine.
He's
A
gonna
very
come
good
in.
scheme, to be fair. Very, very good looking scheme. But now, the issue is, with him coming in alone, he is also going to come out alone, and he might not have any draft buddies.
Oh, I believe you're right. We'll keep an eye on that. Because the running order flips upside down once again. Lyle Swearingen should jump back into the race lead. Chris Samara just up in front. Butch Davis in this group. He's not on the lead lap at the moment.
Yeah, Butch Davis fighting for that lucky dog in the event that we have a caution. And, you know, I don't want to say anything, but if I know something about Daytona, it's that you're going to have a caution somewhere.
I don't know that going to have a caution somewhere is true, but I do know that if we have one, we will have many.
Yep, cautions breed cautions. It's a tale as old as time.
Even Formula One tried to bring it up this year in Las Vegas by saying safety cars, bring more safety cars, which is clearly just a European version of DW's phrase, Betty Parsons' phrase, cautions breed cautions. I kid. I love Formula One. I don't want to poop on them too much, but
Oh, I agree. I love Formula One. I love all forms of motorsport.
me too, man. You get race cars on the racetrack, and I am just stoked. Which
Yeah.
is why we get the Western States at a track like Daytona, and now we get to see this long-term chess match play out. I am through the moon right now as we see Chris Samarda leading over the lap car of Butch Davis. Davis trying to hold on to this spot so he can retain the free pass position if a caution does come out. Lyle Swearingen led a lot of the time before that pit stop. I would assume that it's kind of a strategy call to stay behind the 77 this time around, knowing how much fuel he used before.
Yeah, and, you know, the 77 of Chris Samard, teammates with the 43, and actually the 68 behind him of Lyle Swearingen, all FBR teammates. So these guys are, you know, they're not going to leave Butch Davis out to dry. They are almost protecting him and ensuring that he will be getting the lucky dog as you see them move in sync down to pass Ryan Steele there. Or, sorry, Ryan Steele is not the 12 car this race. Scott Kukas is the 12 car. Big apologies there. But, like I was saying, they are going to protect Butch Davis and basically guarantee him this lucky dog if we do ever have a caution.
Yeah, they're going to do what they can to try to get him back on the lead lap. Next pack back we have is led by Brian Barnes, or Brian Steele rather, Brian Barnes, Stephen Baird, and Dennis Fousson.
Dennis Fousson in a very good position right now. One of the biggest movers of the day, up 23 spots, started P30, currently P7. And unfortunately, going in the other direction, we've got Butch Davis, who is 24 spots back, along with Wayne Hutchison, who is 23 spots back right now.
Tough break for both of those drivers. Obviously, Butch right up behind the race leader, trying to get that lap back. Trying to stay in position to get the free pass if we do see the caution. But actually, as we move back up to the front, Lyle Swearingen is retaking the lead with Butch Davis on the tail end of the lead lap.
Yeah, and I was going to say that. I was confused for a second why they didn't just let Butch Davis be the front man. That way, it wouldn't even take a lucky dog. He is technically on the lead lap here. So,
not only that, but you get to stay behind him and save fuel. If the caution comes out, he's going to have to pit either way. You get to stay behind him and save fuel in the event that a caution does not come out. And still try to keep him on your strategy when he comes into pit.
Yeah, exactly. So FBR playing by the book here. Just textbook race strategy here from those three.
Steele catching up to another group of cars to hopefully add into this pack and make them a little bit quicker. We'll see what kind of draft run he gets. Looks up to the top side of the 16, the 6. Strong run to the outside. We'll see if these guys can latch up with these next 4 cars they're passing. Group and make a run at the lead. It's going to be a tough ask, though, with 7.5 seconds separating Ryan Steele from 3rd place Justin Wilkinson.
Yeah, and JTW just on the tail end of this FBR 3-headed monster that we have up front. And, you know, currently holding down the P3 spot because, like we've been saying, Butch Davis is on the tail end of the lead lap. So, you know, if I'm JTW here, I'm just going to park my car behind them until the last lap and see what I can do.
And apologies for my mistake there. That was actually the race leaders catching up to that lapped pack. So now it is a pack of 10 cars up front with 3 of them on the lead lap. And the rest of these guys from Ryan Steele on back just hoping they can get something formed together, hoping they can get a caution flag to come out and put this race back in their favor. But for right now, it's a 3-horse race.
3-horse race indeed, but it's a 2-team race, as JTW is going to have to figure out a way. If he wants, he can always just happily take the spots behind FBR here, but he is going to have to figure out a way to win this almost 1v2, as that was very close.
Big moment there with the 00 car, I believe. Not sure. Maybe the 04. Alan Bergen has had, that's who we saw have himself a little bit of an incident. Let's see if we can take a look. Coming up off of the pit lane, moves up in front of the field and cuts back down. And contact sent him around. What in the world? Take another look at that from the blimp camera. It looks like he got sideswiped there. And it just sent the car around. Some debris flew off of another race car. Looks to be the 99 who got a bump from the 6. So we stay green after that incident.
Race control being extremely green friendly here tonight.
I'd argue that that was an incident off the racetrack. iRacing isn't going to throw that caution. Admins are probably just going to let this play out, assuming that iRacing is going to throw most of the cautions throughout the race. Haven't seen a whole lot, if any, incidents on the racetrack, with the exception of that little moment between the 99 and the 6 down the back straightaway where they both got up into the wall, but they were both able to drive away okay.
And speaking of that, Brian Barnes, who was actually in that, is sitting P5 right now. So good for him. The number 4 is up 4 spots. Started the race P9. And, you know, Brian Barnes is someone who, you know, unfortunately isn't really typically in the talks, you know, for race contention or, you know, stuff like that. He is unlucky and caught up in a lot of stuff, you know, a lot of chaos, a lot of crashing, but it is good for him.
Really having a good racer in that. Not what we're used to seeing out of that poor machine, but he's gotten himself into some trouble, not of his own doing. Finding himself in the top 5 right now. Going to be a struggle to get up to that lead pack. He's 10 seconds off of the race leader, Lyle Swearingen. But we do have a few pit stops left in this race. Try to jumble things up one more time. And, of course, we've got that famous flag that could definitely change everything. Jumper out towards the middle to back of the pack. We've got multiple cars side by side here. Neil Messer, William Fletcher, Earl Weaver, all a part of this battle.
Yeah, and the sun is starting to set here at Virtual Daytona. The lights are starting to illuminate the stadium. Will the lights be too bright here tonight for some of these drivers? Or are they night owls? Will they excel during the darkness?
I tell you what, we're going to sit on board with Dave Rudd for a moment. We're going to look at what's behind him. That is the race leaders, half a straightaway behind this group that is going double file. If they catch up to them, that could definitely cause some calamity for the race leaders and their ideas of how they're going to play this race out, especially if they're still side by side.
And we might see some positional changing here. It's going to be extremely hard for all three of these FBR Motorsports cars to get through this still locked onto each other's bumper.
And another
So
thing
we
to
will see.
consider, that these guys are trying to keep the 43 on the lead lap, but they're chasing down a bunch of cars that are still on the lead lap. How are they going to go about that and still try to keep their teammate on the lead lap?
It's going to be difficult for sure, and the X factor in all of this is going to be Justin Wilkinson, JTW, in that 19 Ford. Will he start to use these back markers as maybe like a basketball screen? And, you know, maybe he'll try to use them to get around the people in front of him.
Here comes one car from this group. That's Daryl Scott coming into pit. Swearingen and the rest of this pack is gaining big time. Not quite side by side anymore, with the exception of one car up to the top. That's the 23.
Unfortunately, some connectivity issues for the car in front of Butch Davis. So that just adds to the problems that they are going to have in about 15 to 20 seconds.
Car clean, but the rest of this pack going to be a different story.
As they are still double file,
Here
and they are
comes
just
the
going
lead
to call
group
it.
into the pits.
That's
smart.
If I'm being honest, that is probably one of the smartest things I've seen in a while.
Don't
that
come in
was-
and don't get up to these guys and lose time. Get into the pits, get your fuel. You know you're going to have to pit again. Get in and out together. Keep playing your strategy. That is how you want to do it. Now you've got the opportunity for guys like Brian Steele, Stephen Barrett, Dennis Fuson to come in and try to take advantage of this pit cycle.
And for those guys right there, that is going to be the money stop. They are going to take this thing to the end.
No, they can't.
Can they not?
They cannot. There's 25 to go. We haven't seen anybody make it past 20.
That's crazy. I would have figured they planned that out. And they were going to try to make this the money stop.
No, I think they just realized that they were catching up to this pack, and the fastest way for them to continue on their strategy would be to come in and get clean air rather than try to fight through that pack and potentially lose their teammate in the 43.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense as well. That is probably the strategy. I haven't been able to pinpoint a pit strategy all season, so everything I say is probably wrong.
That's why I said it was smart. These guys are coming up to this pack with a run. Come into pit, come out together, get grouped up as quick as you can and get that speed back. And when everybody else has to come in and pit, you've already had that to worry about. Just worry about getting out on the track and running fast laps. Of course, you've got to execute on pit road, but it seemed like this group of four did. Now Fuson, Brian Barnes, and Ryan Steele come into the pits. Cody Matthews going to stay out again, all on his lonesome.
It just seems like Cody Matthews is caught in rough positions over and over again here with the pit cycles. Now here, hear me out. Cody Matthews is running by himself, but if he can push it 2 or 3 or 4 more laps, it would be the money stop for him.
It would be, but he's only got 9 seconds in front of him and the effective race leader, Lyle Swearingen. Is he going to be able to hold on to that time, come in, make a pit stop, get into the trap to make it to the end?
That's a big what if, and I think we might see it unfold here, because that is probably what Cody Matthews is going to do.
Lyle Swearingen already within 6 seconds with the race leader, Cody Matthews. Cody, of course, all by himself. Charlie Widener comes into the pits. Gonna have 22 laps to go. Just 30 miles left to go at Daytona. Or 50 miles, rather. In a few laps.
And these guys, it almost seems like middle school lunch. You know, the way you walk into the cafeteria, you've got 5 or 6 different tables of completely different people, but they're doing the same thing. They're socializing, they're getting through life together as a middle schooler. And although that comparison is probably way off, that's kind of what I'm seeing here at Virtual Daytona. I'm seeing 5 or 6 different packs. They're all chasing the same goal, and that is that checkered flag. But they're doing it in different ways. We see FBR and JTW up here. They're pushing Butch Davis along, keeping him on the lead lap. We see packs that are fighting each other. We see packs that are too wide. We're seeing everything here. And it's almost like it's just different groups doing different things, but it's for the same common goal.
Together to catch up to Swearingen, Hard, and JTW. But they have got 18 seconds over Ryan Steele and the rest of these guys. I apologize for before. I said the 23 car. I meant to say the 21. It's James Campbell I mentioned before. Andrew Schulte is in this pack, running in the 5th position. A lot of lap cars up in this group. Starting to get to the point where it's going to be super tough for these guys to try to get together and draft up to the leaders. I tell you what, with about 10 cars up in this pack, everybody racing for different things, and things starting to heat up. We're taking 20 to go from the race leader, Chris Simard, right now. They've gotten around Butch Davis. Butch Davis has a problem.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate for Butch Davis. I'm not entirely sure what happened to... Oh, his engine blew up. Something is not running right in that 43 machine. See the smoke coming out the back.
Keep an eye on it, see if there's any sort of damage here, but that leaves the top group. Only 3 cars. Looks like there is some right side damage.
Not entirely sure what happened there at all. He is going to mosey on into the pits, and that is probably a done night for Butch Davis.
See if we can try to catch it. Nope, a little bit late on that. Still slow already. Oh, some hefty contact with the outside wall.
Yeah, that is...
Here it is. We found the incident after decades of searching, and just a contact from the 68.
That that is teammate on teammate violence as wow. That could have been really, really bad.
Get back up to live pictures here. Chris Samard still holds on to the race lead by about half a second over Lyle Swearingen right behind him. Justin T. Wilkinson in third place. Andrew Schulte is 17.5 seconds back and forth. But I tell you what, with less than 20 laps to go, things starting to heat up. If we're going to see a caution, this is where. And if there's a group that's able to get together to chase down those top three and get them scared, this is the one.
Yeah, and, you know, it is time to lock in for these drivers. We've had the early race. We've had the mid race. We are 16 to go here. It is time to lock in.
Hey, I am kind of shocked that we didn't see a yellow for the Butch Davis crash. I suppose, like I had said before, he wasn't sideways on the racetrack, so that had something to do with it. This group currently running equal lap times with the race leaders, and they're side by side once again, starting to get feisty here down the back straightaway. This, of course, is the battle for everything outside of the podium as Jeff Schmeier gets up into 4th place and gets in front of Andrew Schulte in the 81.
Yeah, and these guys are just, like you said, battling for the best of the rest P4 spot. And if you're Andrew Schulte, it would be really, really nice to get a good result here to extend your championship lead. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to force it and do anything that would preemptively end my race, because Michael Milfeld Jr. is sitting down in P31 right now. Absolutely minimum points for him right now as it stands. So with Andrew Schulte being the championship leader, battling Michael Milfeld for that championship, he needs to just stay put. You know, he doesn't need to ruin his race and make that gap any smaller than it already is against Michael Milfeld in the standings.
Same time, you've got a race at Daytona on hand, and now with the way that these guys have lined up, Andrew Schulte pushing Jeff Schmeier, they have gotten within 17 seconds of the lead. There's less than 15 laps to go. It's going to be a very, very tough ask to get up to the front. But if they start to get racy up there, that could create the opportunity that you need to get to the front three. These guys out front by over 16 seconds. Tell you what, man, that's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, and this second pack is running about half a second faster than the lead pack, but with 14, 15 laps to go here, that's not going to be enough. That is
Big
not
crash
enough
off of
delta.
turn 4, upside down goes the 20 car.
Ooh, that is not good for Daryl Scott.
And that is our first caution of the day on lap 67 out of 80. Wow. So it looks like the 34 car got loose and was bouncing up and down on the apron, and as the 20 and 45 were trying to get around, all three came together. 20 just got launched off the front bumper of the 04 machine. Dustin Burns with nowhere to go, nothing to do there.
Julian Ritchie can do nothing but just sit and watch. 34 of Michael Bourne there, getting a little squirrely coming out of 4.
Well, Mac, this changes everything. Everybody's going to come into the pits. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break here and get back with you on the restart order. Try to shake down these final 10 laps.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the final 10 laps here at Daytona International Speedway. We went green for so many laps. We were almost there. But on lap what I believe was 67, we saw the end of it. Saw the yellow come out. And we've got Chris Simard and Lyle Swearingen here, FBR teammates. They're going to try to take FBR to the checkered flag, but now they've got a line of hungry drivers behind them, just waiting to strike, like Randy Orton in 09.
What did we say before? Cautions breed cautions. Now we've got a caution flag restart with 10 laps to go, with a shot at a Daytona victory on the line. 21 cars are on the lead lap. Swearingen, Samard, Wilkinson, Barnes, Schulte, Steele, Simpson, Burke, Schmeier, Beltrami, Ritchie, Bracington, Fuson, Kelman, Matthews, Widener, Hutchinson, Fletcher, Scott Kukas, Justin Michael, and Stephen Barrett round out the lead lap cars as that pace car makes a hard left turn once again into the Geico restart zone and into the hands of Lyle Swearingen. Green flag is out. 10 laps to go. 25 miles at Daytona to decide a winner.
And that winner is going to be extremely gassed here when we get to the checkered flag. This has been a race of constant action.
You're right, Mac. There's been no chance for a break running 65-plus laps on your first run. who had a chance at pit stops, but that is not much for a mental break, as here comes Schulte up on the top with a push from that 4 machine. Here comes Brian Barnes.
We call him Mr. Consistency for a reason. Andrew Schulte has found himself up into contention for the win, and he just does it. Week after week, he does it. He only has 2 wins here on the season. He's got 14, yes, I said it, 14 top 5s. Can he get his 3rd win of the season here and extend that championship lead even more going into the last round?
Only 1 round to go, and 17 races have been complete for Andrew Schulte. It's going to be tough to beat him. Not impossible, as these guys start to slide up a little bit more off the corners than they would earlier on in the show. You're letting up a little bit less, you're saving a little bit less, you're pushing a little bit harder, and the handling, when you get right up behind somebody, even in these Xfinity cars, it can definitely go away at a track like Daytona.
Yeah, these are not the next gen NASCARs that we do see run, side by side here with these cars in the WSRL. But these Xfinity cars, they're going to be a lot more loose on throttle. And, obviously this is Daytona, so you've got the throttle held down pretty much at full almost all the time. But for these guys, these Xfinity cars, that bump drafting is going to be a little harder to maintain. It's going to take a little more elbow grease to keep that wheel straight and keep that car pointed straight going down these straightaways.
You might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but these cars don't have the new damage model yet. Coming tomorrow they should, but I think this is one that doesn't have it yet. So that's another thing to think about with these bump drafts. I mean, say the Truck Series, you can get into somebody at a couple mile-an-hour difference and not get them sideways. These cars, if you bump them the wrong way, you could get somebody loose in front of you instead of spinning the whole path.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we saw here earlier with Butch Davis. FBR teammate, not a better person on the entire server, or grid, I should say. There's not a single better person to be pushing Butch Davis, and unfortunately, things just got out of hand, and he was sent flying into the infield. So imagine if teammates can't even push each other. How is a random person that you may or may not like on this grid, not trying to start any controversy or anything here, but you have somebody random pushing you, it's bound to go south.
Neil Messer around in turn 3 brings out the caution flag. Heavy damage on the number 31.
Unfortunate. Another FBR car we see, I believe that was an FBR scheme I saw.
It looked like the 31 car got turned, hit the apron, and it sent him back up the racetrack into the 16.
Yeah, very unfortunate, but, you nailed it. Cautions breed cautions. Here we are.
Oh, Messer had to check up for the 46. The 6 car behind him just didn't have time to react. Got into the back of that 31 machine. And that's going to bring out the caution for only the 2nd time today. But that's going to set up one of the feistiest restarts that we are going to see in this entire season. As these guys come to 75 laps complete, they're already doubled up. They're ready to go. We might be doubling up this time around. This might be a quickie caution. Try to get with race control. Or we'll wait until the lights go off on the pace car to let you know.
Yeah, and if we are going with a full-length caution here, that should set us up with about 3 to go, I believe. When we hit, lights are not out yet, so I do believe we might getting a full length. Andrew Schulte playing this extremely smart right now. Putting his car on level ground so those tires are not digging into the tarmac at all. Very minuscule factor that would have on the tires, but will that minuscule difference be enough?
If he's doing it for the difference, or if he's maybe a little concerned with fuel and just trying to take the shortest way around the racetrack.
That could also be a big factor playing into all of this.
Well, if we get the 1 to green this time, we'll have 3 laps to go on the restart. We'll have 2 chances to make it back around before the white flag comes out to effectively bring it to a free-for-all. No cautions will be thrown on the white flag due to iRacing rules. Cautions do not fly on the white flag. That's just a race it back. You don't have the safety concern until it starts to move. So kind of hope everybody gets up off the racetrack and however, if they do crash before the white flag comes out, we will throw another caution. We will attempt to re-rack it, re-stack it, and go again. For I believe, Mac, you might have to double check me. We should get all 3 attempts here to green white checker.
I do believe you are correct there. That seems to be WSRL standard 3 green white checker. And I believe yes, we should be set up with 3 green white checkered attempts.
Appreciate the Western States Racing League for keeping that rulebook so accessible for us up in the booth so we can deliver the most accurate information to you. The last thing we want to do is tell you the wrong thing. So we will, by all means, go and double check on info before we bring it to you. We'd rather report the right thing than report the first thing.
Unless it's me predicting race strategy, because that will be wrong 100% of the time. I can promise you that.
Well, we're going to have 3 laps to see if guys like Schulte, Swearingen, and Samard are going to let their strategy play out. Somebody like Brian Barnes and Justin Wilkinson come in and play spoiler. Maybe Chad Simpson, who we saw start on the pole, fall all the way back to almost half a lap down. So I believe he did get lapped. He was able to get back on the lead lap due to a wave around.
And as we're coming around here, I just want to point out, Ryan Steele is currently sitting P6. He knows how to get it done late in these races.
Certainly does. Field in the hands of Schulte. Schulte waits until he gets the bump for the 77. Green flag is out, and a much more uniform restart than we've seen all night with just 3 laps to go here at Daytona. The World Center of Racing, the biggest trophy you can get in all of NASCAR, is up for grabs with less than 7.5 miles to take it home.
We have gotten very few movement, or few movement. We'll go with that. And then I eat my words because everybody is starting to swirl around right now. Everybody is going to be trying to ascend this grid order here.
And around goes the 68 up front. The big one happens.
Andrew Schulte goes flying.
So many cars involved, and that got started when the 68 got turned from up front. Lyle Swearingen from the race lead, or at least was leading a tie before that, goes around and takes out the rest of the field. We're going to go ahead and get a look to see what happened here to our to the 68 machine, Lyle Swearingen.
Brian
Oh.
Barnes just a little too aggressive on that push. Hooked the wrong side of the car, was not flush with the back bumper, and there are just too many drivers to name that got involved in that.
Yeah, the Ford just gets down and makes a what seems to be an insignificant bump. It turns that 68 completely sideways down in front of Schulte. Samard, Wilkinson, Simpson is involved. You see Ritchie, 29 of Brazington, nowhere to go. The 07, the 12, the 03. The 6 piles in. I know it looks like ARCA brakes, but things just happen so fast at this racetrack. When cars make contact and slow down abruptly in front of you, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There is quite literally nothing you can do. So that is tough for everybody involved.
At least 10 cars involved in that pileup. A lot of heavy, heavy damage on drivers who don't have a fast repair to work with. Of course, these guys came in here without a fast repair. Ryan Barnes is going to inherit the race lead after that contact. Obviously, nothing egregious on the part of Brian Barnes there. He just, ended up being a bad bump there, but he was able to get through, take over the race lead. Coming to a green-white checker.
And not Chris Samard, Andrew Schulte was about 3 laps, or 7.5 miles, whatever it may be, away from the pinnacle of paradise. He was ready to be preemptively crowned the WSRL champion with that, and unfortunately, things are looking spicy, as we might be seeing with Michael Milfelt Jr. in P9 with position to make up more. We might be seeing a battle for the championship next week at Phoenix.
He certainly could. Obviously, the battle was 62 points coming into this race. 681 for Schulte, 619 for Michael Milfelt Jr. If he's able to get a good result in this race, Schulte has to take a drop. Well, that's just the thing about it. That Schulte's got 14 top 5s on the season. If he's going to drop a race, it'd be this one.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That is a very, very good point.
We'll have to keep an eye on drop weeks, but Schulte might not be out of contention to clinch it this week.
Yeah, you make a very good point with that, because Milfelt is currently being counted for 17 races. Schulte is being counted for 18 races. So when you crunch all that down into 16, there might actually be less of a lead than we think.
Oh, it's going to be tough to beat a guy who's 14 out of 16 or top 5s. But we'll see what we can get done here. Lights are off on the pace car. We're going to try for a single file restart here after the quick caution, bringing out the big one. Not to mention, we've got a lot of damaged race cars, a lot of guys who came into pit. Only, I believe, about 6 or 7 who've been able to get through this whole thing without taking damage. It'll be interesting to see. Let's take a look here at your restart order. We'll start with the top 5. Brian Barnes, Ryan Steele, Bob Beltrami, and Carl Burke. After that, we've got Fuson, got Kukas, Stephen Baird, Michael Milfelt Jr., and Chad Simpson. After getting involved in that crash, still rounds out the top 10. Pace car makes that hard left turn. We're going to have 2 more laps to get her done, Mac.
Yeah, there is a car skirting sideways down the tri-oval right now. Not sure who that was. That might be a problem once he gets up to speed. Brian Barnes with a pretty clinical start, and the 2 cars that I am rooting for right now is the Beltrami Salami Machine and Bob Beltrami and the Dog Machine. The Dunn car, I believe is what it's called, with Jeff Schmeier. I called my shot when he debuted this scheme this season. I said he was going to win it. Can he pay me back and get it done here?
I'll say objectively in the booth, you're not supposed to hold any bias, but we've got 6 cars with a chance to win it, coming to 2.5 miles to go. They stay single file, but here comes the 52 of Carl Burke looking to the top side. No help there. Now up to the top behind him goes the 11 of Fuson, but Fuson taking a run. Now looking to get up top of Schmeier. The caution has come out. The caution is out. We are racing for a green-white checker once again. The caution came out immediately before the white flag.
Wow, that was so close to Brian Barnes making that official with the last lap. That was extremely close.
So the caution is going to come out. What we're going to do first, ride on board with the race leader to see how close he was. Looking on top of the finish line stand. He's seeing green. He's seeing green. Oh my.
Wow.
That
Wow.
is-
There is a chance that happened in the exact same moment that he crossed the start finish.
This is the exact moment of caution. Watch the top of the
Wow.
flag stand. Sorry. Green. This frame turns to caution. There were 3 feet in front of Brian Barnes and the white flag. And now, of course, we've got to try to figure out what brought out that caution.
Wild stuff here.
Now that we're getting to the end of the race, cars have come and go. I can guarantee that caution did happen for cause. We would not have seen one. Oh, there it is. Julian Ritchie got turned around. Wow. Caution flag out once again. 80 laps of Daytona. But they're on lap number 84 right now. It's going to run a little bit long.
Fortunately, though, we do have plenty of time. We have about 20 minutes, give or take, to finish this race. So we should be more than okay on time here.
Oh yeah, we're plenty fine on time. I'm not worried about time. Worried about getting these cars to the finish on fuel. Did these guys potentially take less than they needed to try to get out quicker? Are they going to have to save a little bit under this caution now that we're past the regulation distance?
That is a very, very good point, actually. As we my take of seeing somebody roll across the finish line with no fuel, the chances of it happening are increasing by the minute.
Well, you didn't say that somebody was going to roll across the line out of fuel. You just said that somebody was going to run out. Which
That's
is
fair.
definitely a
fair.
possibility here if these guys tried to cut it close. Didn't account for now 2 green-white checker finishes. Lights are up on the pace car once again. It'll be a single file restart. Brian Barnes over Ryan Steele, Bob Beltrami, Jeff Schmeier, Carl Burke, Dennis Fuson, Michael Milfelt Jr., Chad Simpson, David Weaver, Scott Kukas, Earl Weaver, Justin Wilson, and Andrew Schulte are on the racetrack. Coming into the pits is Wilkinson, Chris Samard, Wayne Hutchison. Could be, well, he's going to be listed 1 lap down. First car 1 lap down.
And Brian Barnes, unfortunately, has the burden of being that leader on potentially the last restart. And I know in my experience, my nerves start to get to me if I'm in a green-white checkered situation at a super speedway and I am the one in front.
Especially how close he was to the white. And obviously that's not an admin caution, that's an iRacing caution for a crash happening on the racing surface. But to be literally feet away from the start-finish line, that's a couple of frames. That's 100th or 2 of a second. Man, that is just so close. This is a game of inches. We'll see if it's a game of inches after these last 2 laps. Can Brian Barnes hold him off? Back.
Brian Barnes is going to start a little early if we're going by the Geico restart zone, but no harm, no foul. I'm sure he is going to get off to, pretty good start. He does have Ryan Steele quickly gaining behind him, but they're going to stay single file for now.
Yeah, if you're Ryan Steele, you want to stay in second place. You want to try to push this guy as long as you can. And Brian Barnes did a really good job on that restart of helping to spread this field out. Carl Burke has lost the top draft. It is now down to just 4 drivers down the back straightaway. Burke is chasing him down just a little bit, but is he going to have enough time to get up to these 4 and make it a battle? Through 3 and 4, we're coming to the white flag.
And great pushing by Ryan Steele and Brian Barnes there. If they can replicate that for another lap, we should be seeing P1 and 2 there.
Coming to the white flag is in the air. When does the move happen from second place Ryan Steele, or does he stay with Brian Barnes? Carl Burke is closing down. He's within 3/4 of a second of this pack. Everybody staying single file up at the top 4.
Here we go, backstretch. This is where the moves are going to be made, Liam.
They certainly are. They stay single file for right now. Is Steele going to be able to move up to the top? He's got a little bit of distance between him and Beltrami. Beltrami's going to have to move up to make something happen, but he doesn't have any help from Jeff Schmeier behind him. Coming through 3 and 4, up off of 4. Is there going to be a chance for a move? He's going to stay in behind. Ryan Steele stays behind Brian Barnes, and Brian Barnes wins in Daytona.
What a clean and textbook finish from Brian Barnes. After having your nerves shot with that caution, he claims his spot on the winners list in season 49.
Yeah, there really wasn't much of a move to be made there behind him. Schmeier got off of the back bumper of Beltrami, and Beltrami kind of started to fall off of the bumper of the car in front of him, Ryan Steele. Steele might have had a shot to get up and maybe make it side by side, but there's no shot that Beltrami would have stuck with him. He held on to his second place finish and maybe respected the fact that Brian Barnes pretty much had this on lock before that caution came out. Either way, the 4 car, that popsicle Chevy Camaro, is going to go to victory lane. Get to watch him come up off of turn number 4, maybe make a little contact, and he's going to burn it down! Just not the way we're used to, as calamity ensues.
Brian Barnes electing to... there's chaos at the start-finish line right now. These guys, they are clean as a whistle like I said, 99% of the time, but as soon as that checkered flag flies, they throw all of that out the window. It is a war zone. It looks like Call of Duty.
It definitely did. But we're going to go ahead and take this moment to bring in Brian Barnes. Brian, our race winner. It's Liam and Mac up at the booth. You got a copy.
10-4, you got me?
Yeah, we got you. Well, we've got a lot to unpack after this night. We want to start off with the 65-plus lap green flag run that you started with. You obviously didn't stay up front that whole time, and you had a little bit of trouble, I believe, some contact early on. Walk us through that long run and what it took to kind of hold on and stay within this pack.
Well, good pit entries, pit exits, but yeah, exactly. I did have a little excitement throughout that. Got to say sorry to Barry Phil. I kind of bounced off him in process of something, and then the down pit lane, I think I had a little trouble cutting off somebody there too. So I got my apologies to be made to certain people, but it came out all right.
What was your kind of thought process? You're coming to the white flag, anticipating it's going to come out, and you get within feet of the white flag. We did go back and check on the iRacing service on the replay. You were just a few feet in front of the finish line before that caution came out. What was going through your mind at that point?
I wanted to see the white, and the white came out like a split second before the yellow. It's like, oh man. But luckily it didn't matter. I had a lot of teammates behind me at that point. I've got to say sorry to Lyle. I don't know what happened there. I was directly behind him on that one restart, and somehow he got turned left. So don't know if that was my fault or what happened there, but it kind of took out the whole bottom lane, and luckily all my teammates were on the top.
Seemed like you had some teammates with you on that last run. What did it take on that last run, and who do you want to thank for such a strong run alongside your teammates?
I got to thank Popsicle for being with me all these many years, since '08 on iRacing, and other than that, thanks to the wife for putting up with me all these years too, Tuesdays and Friday nights. My teammates and you guys for putting this on. Thank you.
Awesome stuff, Brian. Congratulations on the win. We were going to watch you burn it down, but it seemed like you got that done a little bit before the start-finish line. But that was Brian Barnes, our race winner. Appreciate you, Brian. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ryan Steele for second place. Mac, I believe you've got him.
Ryan Steele, Mac up in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you almost got it done here tonight. You're in that P2 position. And I just want to know what was going through your mind when we started getting all those cautions there at the end. Did you want to play it safe? Did you want to try to jump? What was kind of the mindset?
Are you talking like the last couple of restarts when it's Brian and me up front?
Exactly.
Yeah. We planned those restarts. Like we had an idea when we wanted to go and what we thought would give us the best jump, because no matter who's up front on these restarts, someone is going to get a run after 2 laps. And since we were like a group of teammates, we were like, well, if we go together as a group, they might not be able to get back to us. So it was just trying to pick which spot we thought would give us the best advantage, catch people out. And then we just went with that.
And, it turned out to be the perfect strategy, as you guys 1-2 on the podium here. Now, heading to next week, Phoenix, it's the last round, and you are not out of this thing yet. It's slightly reminiscent of what we saw last year in Season 48. Do you feel confident knowing that you've been in this exact spot before and coming out with the title?
I can't be that close to the title, right? I mean, I haven't looked at the points table. To be honest, it was such a rough start to the season that I just kind of counted myself out. But I know it's crazy that I've been at least in the top 3 for most of the recent weeks. so I can at least say I had a decent season. Phoenix, I'm just gonna let it play out the way it does. Phoenix is not a super great track for me, but we'll go for what we can get.
P3 currently. You are 71 points behind the lead. Drop weeks have not been accounted for yet, so there might be some shifting there. But, you're close. Gotten it done before. And, you got it done here tonight with, the P2 finish. Who do you want to thank for the performance tonight?
Tonight's performance was definitely all helped by the Dog Bear team, as we all lined up with Brian and Bob and Jeff and Scott and Fusan was back there as well. So we managed to actually accidentally get in line. That doesn't usually happen for us. It just kind of, hey, we're all on the outside line. We can actually work together for a change. And that gave us the win pretty much. All that team strategery stuff. And I got to thank you guys for covering the series.
Yes, sir. Well, it was a blast as always. Enjoy your night, Mr. Steele, your P2 finisher here at Daytona.
Thank you much.
All right, and last but not least, we're going to bring in third place finisher, but also the boss, Bob Beltrami. It's Mac and Liam up at the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Hey, can you believe that?
Dude. I suppose I'll talk to you as broadcaster to league owner first. We got 66 laps of green flag racing before that first caution came out. Strategies got to play out. And even though we got a flurry of them there in the end, things were really clean, with the exception of, one or two bad bumps. I mean, as a league owner, you got to be proud of the guys of the show your guys put on here tonight.
That was some amazing driving, and I got to be honest, I was not expecting it. I mean, I dropped back on lap 2 expecting, there to be carnage, and I'm back there with Chad, and it just kept going green. And so, yeah, my hat's off to all the guys for doing a fabulous job. It just amazing.
Yeah, like you said, switch back to driver mode. You fell back early on, and with the lack of cautions, that really put you in a hole. Walk us through that recovery effort.
All I can think of is that, between the draft that I was getting with Chad and doing, I think we really nailed our pit stops, and we kind of vaulted over some guys each time and worked our way back into the top 10. That was just amazing. So, huge thank you to Chad for that help. And I hated to see those guys in the bottom lane get caught up in that was at the first green white checker, because man, that was shaping up to be one heck of a finish.
That was with 2 to go on the first organic green white checker, or the only one. But yeah, that major crash, you were able to get through. What was your viewpoint on that?
Well, I saw everybody kind of spin down low, and they were all on the apron. I thought to myself, oh, they're going to come up. I'm a dead man. But then I just snuck through, looked up in my rear view as they came across the track. And, I just got to count my lucky stars. And thank goodness I somehow was able to make it through. And for once, I didn't get caught up in it. So, wow. It just took my breath away.
Mac, did you have anything for Bob? Or... It's all right. I just...
Yeah, no, sorry. I really didn't have anything planned. I was just, taking it all in. I do want to say, though, one thing while I've got the commish, the boss in here, I just want to say, what a fantastic season it's been so far, and I cannot wait to see the championship next week.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this last race and see how it shapes up. I was actually hoping we'd be able to put a dent in Andrew's points, but doggone it, the guy brought home another top 10. He's just amazing. What can you say?
Yeah, Mr. Consistency.
Yes, sir. Absolutely right.
But before we let you go for a top 3 finish, who do you want to thank for that?
Oh, heck, I definitely have to thank my teammates. Brian and Ryan were out in front of me. Jeff was right behind me, and Dennis was 2 cars behind him. And somehow we were able to sneak through there. So I can't believe it. That was awesome.
But you drove a great race, and your team brought it home 1, 2, 3. That doesn't happen very often. So go ahead and
Yeah.
celebrate with your team. We'll let you go, and we appreciate you joining us.
Yep. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate the broadcast.
Yes, sir.
Beltrami Salami joining us up in the booth. Go ahead and show you the results now. Ryan Barnes gets it done over Ryan Steele, Bob Beltrami, Jeff Schmeier, Carl Berg, Dennis Fuson, Michael Milfeld Jr., Andrew Schulte with another top 10, Chad Simpson and Scott Kukas round out your top 10. Chris Samard, Earl Weaver, David Weaver, Justin T. Wilkinson, Wayne Hutchinson, James Campbell, Barry Phil, we got Stephen Baird, Lyle Swearingen, and Daryl Scott rounding out the top 20.
Dan Brasington comes home P23. Going down from there is going to be Wayne Fleet, Keith Kellman, Charlie Widener, William Fletcher, Dave Rudd, Neil Messer, Justin Michael, Dustin Burns, Butch Davis, Michael Bourne, Alan Bergen, and Jason Anderson and Ashley Valdatero did not take the green tonight.
Well, it was a race full of strategy and that filled with highlights all throughout, but sprinkled especially at the end. A major crash takes out major competitors, and Brian Barnes is able to skirt through and take the win after 2 green-white checkers. We appreciate you joining us. That'll do it for us here on Sim Racing Media. For Mac Nelson, I'm Liam Irving up in the booth. And as you guys walk through the streets of life, remember, don't play in traffic. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you.